The evening air outside the Grand Pavilion Theater carried that quiet hum of excitement that only live performances bring. The marquee lights reflected off the pavement, shimmering gold as crowds filed in through the glass doors, their laughter and chatter mixing with the faint echo of music from inside. It was the premiere night of Echoes of Belfast, a film that had brought Jamie Dornan back to his roots, back to the city that had raised him, shaped him, and given him his first dreams. Amid the glamour and the flashing cameras, one small figure stood apart. Near the main entrance, pressed against the glass doors, was a boy no older than 9. His hair was neatly combed, his coat a little too big for his small frame, and in his hands he clutched a folded paper and a worn photograph. Around him, adults hurried by, ticket holders in suits and dresses, theater staff moving briskly, but the boy remained still, his wide eyes fixed on the glowing poster that read, "Starring Jamie Dornan." The security guard by the door, a broad-shouldered man named Patrick, noticed the boy lingering. He stepped closer, lowering his voice gently. "Hey, lad, do you have a ticket?" The boy shook his head, eyes downcast. "No, sir. I saved up my money, but it's not enough." He opened his small hand to reveal a few crumpled bills. £12 in total. "I just wanted to see him, just once. I wanted to give him this." He held up the folded paper, a letter written in careful handwriting, and the old photo of a much younger Jamie, smiling with a group of students from a local school program. Patrick sighed, the way men do when kindness collides with rules. "I'm sorry, lad," he said softly. "You can't stay by the door. Maybe you can wait over there by the side." The boy nodded, fighting the sting of tears. He stepped aside, clutching his letter, watching the crowd flow past him like a river he couldn't cross. What he didn't know, what nobody knew, was that his quiet disappointment was being watched from inside the lobby by the very man whose name shone on the marquee. Jamie Dornan had arrived early, slipping in through a side entrance away from the noise of the press. He liked to take a few moments alone before events like this, to breathe, to remember where he came from. As he stood near the window overlooking the entrance, something caught his eye. A small boy standing in the cold, staring through the glass with the kind of longing Jamie recognized all too well. He saw the letter, the old photograph, the trembling hand clutching those few bills, and something in that image hit him hard, a reflection of himself, years ago, standing outside the Lyric Theatre in Belfast, dreaming of one day being on that stage. Without a word, Jamie turned to his assistant. "Hold my coat," he said quietly, and walked toward the main doors. Outside, the boy jumped slightly as the doors opened and the actor himself stepped into the cool night air. The crowd gasped, and for a moment cameras froze as Jamie knelt down in front of the boy, eye level, a warm smile breaking across his face. "Hey there," he said gently. "What's your name?" The boy swallowed hard. "Daniel," he said. "Daniel Kerr." "Well, Daniel Kerr," Jamie said, his voice soft with that northern lilt. "It's freezing out here. Why aren't you inside?" Daniel looked down, embarrassed. I wanted to see your movie. I saved my money, but it's not enough. I just wanted to give you this." He held out the letter with trembling hands. Jamie took it carefully, unfolding the paper. Inside, written in uneven lines, were the words, "You came to our school last year and told us to never stop dreaming. I just wanted to say thank you, because now I want to be an actor too." Jamie looked up, blinking away the emotion gathering behind his eyes. He smiled. "You wrote this yourself?" Daniel nodded. "I saved for a ticket. I thought maybe I could get in if I was lucky." Jamie glanced at the boy's small wad of cash, £12, probably months of saving. The crowd around them had grown quiet, sensing something extraordinary unfolding. "You know what?" Jamie said, folding the letter and tucking it into his pocket. "You've already paid enough. How about you come in as my guest?" The boy's eyes widened. "Really?" "Really," Jamie said, extending his hand. "Come on, Daniel. Let's get you inside." Patrick, the security guard, smiled as he opened the door for them. "He's with me," Jamie said simply, and together they stepped into the warmth of the theater. Inside, the crowd parted to make way for them. Cameras flashed, but Jamie ignored them, keeping one hand on Daniel's shoulder as they walked through the elegant lobby filled with chandeliers and laughter. "Have you ever been to a premiere before?" Jamie asked. Daniel shook his head, speechless. "Well," Jamie said, grinning, "you're about to see one from the best seat in the house." He led the boy down the red carpet, not as a publicity stunt, but as a genuine act of kindness. Guests watched with admiration as he stopped to introduce Daniel to the cast and crew. "Everyone," Jamie said, "this is Daniel Kerr, my special guest tonight. He worked harder to get here than any of us did." The words drew applause, but for Daniel, it was all a blur. He barely noticed the flashes or the murmurs of awe. He just looked up at Jamie, unable to stop smiling. As the lights dimmed and the film began, Jamie leaned down and whispered, "You see that? That was me once, sitting in the back of a dark theater, dreaming. And now here we are. So don't you ever stop dreaming, all right?" Daniel nodded, his small hand gripping the armrest. When the film ended 2 hours later, the audience erupted in applause. Jamie stood and turned to Daniel. "What did you think?" "It was beautiful," Daniel said softly. "It made me feel like I could do something too." Jamie smiled, placing a hand on his shoulder. "You already are, Daniel. You're reminding all of us why we started." Later that night, as the crowd began to leave, Jamie brought Daniel backstage, introducing him to the film's crew. He showed him the cameras, the sets, the script pages. "This is where the real magic happens," he said. "You see, it's not just about the spotlight. It's about the people who believe in stories. People like you." Before Daniel left, Jamie handed him something. A small, laminated badge that read, "Guest of Honor." "Anytime you want to visit a set," Jamie said, "you show this to my team. You've earned it." Daniel's eyes filled with tears. "Thank you," he whispered. Jamie smiled. "No, thank you, for reminding me why I love what I do." The next morning, the photo of Jamie kneeling beside the boy outside the theater went viral. It wasn't posted by publicists or media outlets. It was shared by onlookers who'd witnessed the moment firsthand. The caption simply read, "He didn't just see a fan, he saw himself." Across social media, thousands of people commented on the act, not as a celebrity gesture, but as a reminder of humility and compassion. In the weeks that followed, Daniel's story spread. The local news visited his school, interviewing him about that night. "He told me to never stop dreaming," Daniel said, smiling shyly. "And I won't." Jamie, true to his word, stayed in touch. A month later, Daniel received a package in the mail. A handwritten note, a signed poster, and a letter that read, "Every story begins with a dream. Keep writing yours." That simple act of kindness grew into something larger. The theater launched a community program called Dream Seats, providing free tickets for children who couldn't afford to attend performances. Within months, dozens of young dreamers were sitting in seats once beyond their reach, all because one boy had stood outside with 12 pounds and a letter. When asked about the incident during an interview, Jamie smiled thoughtfully. "It wasn't planned," he said. "I just saw a kid who reminded me of myself. Sometimes the smallest moments turn out to be the most important ones." He paused, then added quietly, "Fame doesn't mean much unless you use it to give someone else a chance to believe." Years later, Daniel Kerr would grow into a confident teenager. He'd join a youth theater group, win small acting awards, and often tell the story of that night when everything changed. But he never described it as luck. "It wasn't luck," he would say. "It was kindness. Someone saw me when they didn't have to." The bond between them continued quietly, not for cameras, not for headlines, but as something real. And every time Jamie returned to Belfast, he would invite Daniel to whatever set he was working on. Sometimes he'd hand him a script, other times just share a coffee and talk about stories. It reminded them both that success, at its purest form, isn't measured by fame, awards, or applause, but by the ability to see yourself in others and help them see what's possible. Because sometimes the most powerful moments in life don't happen on stage or on screen. They happen in the quiet spaces outside, where a child waits with hope in his hands, and someone decides to open the door.